Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Brawley City Council and successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting agenda for Tuesday, October 2nd, 2018 at 6 p.m. We can have the roll call, please.
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
Very well. The invocation by Councilmember Hamby. If you could please rise.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we are grateful to you tonight for this opportunity to come together as a community and direct the paths of our city. We're thankful for the responsibility that you've placed upon our shoulders. We ask that we would be able to make wise decisions, or that the needs of the community would be made known, and that we would be able to rise to meet those needs. Thank you for the freedom that we have in this nation. Thank you for all those that are serving and fighting for our freedom. Thank you for our law enforcement, our fire department. We ask that you would keep us all safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Armando Garabet. If you can lead us, please.
Ready? Good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right. Looks like 4-H is here, right?
Yes. In force.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, good evening, everyone. We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public appearances and comments not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment? Please come up.
Good evening, Mayor Nava, council members. I have a couple items tonight. So, Katie Luna with the Brawley Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted to just thank once again, Norma for accompanying me to a field trip. We took a field trip to Mexicali. We celebrated their 100-year anniversary, and I just really appreciate you taking the time. We were treated very, very well, unexpectedly well. We were able to go up on stage and share a little bit. So we had a productive meeting over there. So thank you once again. Also, for Cattle Call, we're moving right along. Everything is going well thanks to Rosanna and the city staff. We don't see any issues in the near future. So thank you, Lord, for that. I'm also here because I want to share a story, interesting scenario that came up. I got a phone call from a gal who was in San Diego, and she was calling to get information, so she called the right place, the Chamber of Commerce, and she wanted to know the bus schedule from Brawley to Slab City. So we gave her the information as best as we could, and she made a very eye-opening comment. And the comment was, I'm coming from San Diego, and I'm going to Slab City because I'm homeless, and I've heard from other homeless people in San Diego that Slab City is the place to go. So that was kind of a lot to take in, and we sat back in the office and we talked about it and how that can potentially impact travel through our community. And we have seen an influx, as you guys know, as PD and fire and everyone else is well aware, we have seen an influx of transient over the year. And we just want to bring that to you as knowledge as you go forward planning for the city. We are seeing, if you look on channels like YouTube and Facebook, there's more documentaries, there's more glamorization of living in Slab City and what it's like to be out there. There's challenges called I Survived Slab City, So there's all kinds of things that are happening at that part of the county that could potentially affect our area. That leads me into my last comment, which is, as we do see an influx in transients, we do see a correlation between transients and our trash situations. Just today, I went out to our alley to dump trash, and there is a dumpster right across from ours that someone had pulled all the trash out, and it was all over the alley. Of course, trash service is not required to get out and pick that up out of the alley and put it back in the dumpster. So we're seeing more and more of that, and we're also seeing more transients that are living behind our dumpsters, which for us, and I know for our neighbors as well, has been an issue. We are actually sometimes afraid to go out there and dump the trash at night when we're in there after dark, because we do have transients that shoot up in the alley and do all kinds of things I don't even want to mention in the alley, and we do work with PD on making sure that they clear out, but we're seeing more and more of that. And so I know some of our other businesses in the community have been affected by the trash situations, and it was all conversations about trash, but from the business perspective, there have been quite a few instances of businesses in the community having to do double the duty, going and picking up trash multiple times because transients will come through, dump it, and walk away. So I just wanted to give you that piece of information. I know we have some other business owners here tonight, so I'm hoping that we'll hear more of their perspective as well.
Thank you for your comments and for expressing your views. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to make a public comment on any item not appearing on the agenda? Please.
Good evening, members of the council, mayor and members of the audience. My name is Laura Estrada, field representative for Assembly Member Eduardo Garcia. I am happy to inform you that we have successfully completed the end of the 2-year legislative cycle. Assembly Member Garcia has been very busy holding hearings on behalf of the Salton Sea, as well as championing for the park bond that was approved by the voters on June 5th. Assembly Member Garcia has held office hours in every community in the district and resolved countless constituency cases. As you may have read, Assembly Member Garcia has had 18 out of 21 bills signed by Governor Brown and chaptered into legislation, such as AJR 34, agricultural workers, labor shortages. This bill would call upon the federal government to recognize the agricultural labor shortages affecting our agricultural industry and urge them to address this critical economic issue, as well as Assembly Bill 626, Homemade Food Operations Act, which would amend Section 113789 of the Health and Safety Code to expand private homes exemption within the Retail Food Code's requirements for food facilities to include self-registration or permit for homemade food operations. This bill would permit the sale of prepared meals and other foods from small-scale home kitchen operations. Amongst all these feats, Assembly Member Garcia continues to keep our children a priority. As our children recently returned to school, it is important that we recognize those that help our students save, and by passing ACR 243, Assembly Member Garcia and the rest of the legislature recognize September as Crossing Guards Keep Our Children Safe Month in the state of California. Council members, Mayor, it has been a very productive 2 years for the 56th Assembly District and the Assembly Member. We have had accomplishments throughout the legislative cycle. Additionally, Assembly Member Garcia looks forward to visiting the City Council meetings throughout the district to provide a full update of the success of our legislative endeavors. I am happy to follow up with you if you have any specific questions or want additional information on any of our bills at a later time. Just as a reminder, if you ever have any ideas for anything that should become a law or change in statute, or if you have any difficulty with the state agency, we are here. If it's a pleasure to be of service to you, please feel free to stop by our office located at 1101 Airport Road, Suite D in Imperial. You may also contact me via telephone, which is 760-355-8656. I will leave behind several copies of our legislative bill package for this year. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Strona, for your information. Appreciate it. All right, is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment before the City Council? Please.
Ernesto Mariscal at 935 Ronald Street. If you're having problems with the dumpsters, give us a call at 760-355-0004, and we'd be more than happy to change out the dumpsters and put lids on them with locks. That's all it takes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Mariscal, you've
sir.
recently started a position with Republic Services, right? So
Yes, sir.
you're now the point of contact for us?
Well, actually, I'm the maintenance manager there, so I control all the trucks.
Okay.
Operations manager runs all the dumpsters
Okay.
and any issues that you do have, they'll take care of it. I know we had some issues over the weekend. I called my division manager, and I know he changed out a few. I want to say behind over here, they put lids or locks on them, I believe.
Very well.
I think so.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
we appreciate it very
I
much.
had to look at your shirt. I didn't realize you were with Republic. Congratulations. Uh-huh.
I tease him because I said, are you going to come up here and talk trash, you know? And so,
Talk trash.
Okay.
I know.
That's cold.
I wasn't sure why you said that. Now I know.
Now we
Okay.
know.
all right. Anyone else who'd like to make a comment here before the city council? All right, there's one more.
Hi, sir. Hello.
My name is Sylvia Castañeda. My address is 274 I Street. I reside here in Brawley. I also have a small business, 511 Main Street, next to the Inferno, which is called Silver's Little Treasures. I have two thank yous. I have a thank you for the city for listening to me and my concerns about the 2-hour parking signs that are up. Really bad. There was no parking all day for 8 hours by other staff from other businesses parking all day. That's taken care of. I got almost like a drive-through. You want to buy something, drive-through, take it out to you, you're gone. Thank you. That's really helped my business. I'm sure it's helped the other businesses
Sure.
too. And my second thank you is for moving the ugly dumpsters that were very horrible. Thank you, Mr. Hamby, for bringing that to our attention. I park around the corner over here, so I wouldn't park on the street. And that's all you see, just ugly dumpsters, you know, right in front of you, packed with free dumping for all Brawley. You know, there was no reason to have dumpsters like that, not even locked. Anybody, you know, I couldn't go and just, whatever I'm picking up during the day and just go throw it out in the dumpster because it's open, you know, so I'm glad that that's not longer there. This morning I passed by, it's just clean, clear, you can see the back of the buildings, the dumpsters are not, you know, covering up the view of our buildings, so I just want to thank you for also doing that.
Well, thank you for your
Mr. Hamby.
comments. I hope your business is doing well.
Yes.
Good.
Thank you, I'm on
Fantastic.
Main Street finding.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
Good to
Here.
see you again. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment before the city council? If not, we're moving along to item 2A, introduction of County Assistant Carmen Espino by the Assistant Finance Director, Mr. Tony Godinez.
Mayor Nava, council members, I would like to introduce Carmen Espino as the new accounting assistant in the finance department. A little background about Carmen. Carmen has been in banking most of her life. She started as a part-time teller at the age of 18 when she was enrolled in the IVROP banking and finance program. After graduating from high school, she took on a full-time position with Security Pacific Bank and worked her way up to a merchant teller. Her skills were valuable in balancing cash drawers and the vault as well. Carmen was promoted to relationship banker in 1998, where she assisted with consumer and business customers with opening new accounts, offering appropriate banking solutions, and meeting various goals in different categories. In 2003, Carmen was promoted to a senior relationship banker, where she was responsible with officer and supervisor duties. Carmen's talent in customer service and work product will be a great addition to the finance department. Thank you, guys.
Welcome aboard, Ms. Espino.
Thank you, good evening, and I am glad to be on your team. I am hoping that with my skills, I can hope to grow a little bit higher than where I'm at now. That's what I'm here for, to learn. There's a lot of stuff that I'm learning that I have never dealt with before, but mainly cash, and I can handle that. I can handle the third, and I can handle the first, just like I did at the bank as well, and that's easy to do. It's just all the other stuff that I got to learn, which is not going to be hard for me to do. But I'm glad to be on your team, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity.
Thank
And I
you.
hope that you guys get good feedback.
All right.
From
Congratulations.
everybody else.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you very much, and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Godinez, for the introduction. We appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda is item 2B, Mayor's presentation of proclamation declaring the week of October 7th through the 13th, 2018 as 4-H week to Brawley Magnolia 4-H. Backup pay is on page 4, and I'm going to read the proclamation. I know there's some members of 4-H Club back there, so. And here's the proclamation, National 4-H Week, October 7th through 13th, and I'll read through the entire proclamation. It shouldn't take too long. National 4-H Week, October 7th through 13th, 2018. Whereas 4-H is America's largest youth development organization, having supported almost 6 million youth across the country thus far. And whereas 4-H has helped over 7,000 youth each year in Imperial County to become confident, independent, resilient, and compassionate leaders. And whereas 4-H has been helping youth and adults learn and grow together and work together for more than 100 years, has more than 60 million alumni across America responding to challenges every day in their communities and their world. And whereas 4-H is delivered by Cooperative Extension, a community of more than 109 public universities across the nation that provides experiences where young people learn by doing in hands-on projects in areas including health, science, agriculture, and citizenship. And whereas California 4-H is led by the University of California Cooperative Extension, the research and outreach arm of the University of California's Division of Agriculture and Natural Resources, and whereas National 4-H Week showcases the incredible experiences that 4-H offers young people and highlights the remarkable 4-H youth in Brawley who work each day to make a positive impact on those around them. Whereas 4-H's network of 600,000 volunteers and 3,500 professionals provides caring and supportive mentoring to all 4-Hers, helping them to grow into true leaders, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. Now, therefore, I, George A. Nava, do hereby proclaim October 7th through 13th, 2018 as National 4-H Week throughout Brawley and encourage all of our citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact that they have made and continue to make by empowering youth with the skills they need to lead for a lifetime. So I've signed the proclamation, and I would like to present it to the group. If you could please come up. And if we can have the council, if I can have you join me for a picture, I'd appreciate that as well. All right, congratulations. Thank you very much.
I was a 4-H at one time. We probably all were.
I was in 4-H.
Yeah, me too.
My son.
They taught me how to sew.
All right.
Yes, they did.
I learned how to sew by
Well, thank
the
you,
4-H.
4-H. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, congratulations.
Very nice.
Yeah,
All right.
Some of those
That's
skills.
always nice.
yeah, me too.
Electrical.
They were good. Good training.
Many moons ago. I was
All right.
in 4-H.
Really? Okay.
Many
Well,
moons.
moving along now, so
That would be.
next is the consent agenda, item 3. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next item is regular business. Item 4A, presentation by Sean Wilcock, IVEDC Vice President of Business Development of Brawley Brownfields Initiative, and the backup materials on pages 25 through 36. Mr. Wilcox, if you can please come up. for your presentation.
Thank you, Mayor Nava, members of the council. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come and speak to you and present a program that we feel is very beneficial to the community. I will ask Councilmember Hamby to pass those along. Whoops, I gave you one too many.
We need one back.
I need one back. There's one back. No, I'm sorry. I have none.
I have an extra copy.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we sure?
It's the same.
Yeah.
Do we have enough?
I think we have enough.
Looks like we
Yeah.
have.
We're good.
It's
You
in the
good?
backup
Okay.
too.
We're good.
It's in the
Yeah,
backup.
Yeah, it's
It's
in here
in-
too. They made copies for us, actually.
So, as I mentioned, I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come and present this program to you because I see all of you as someone that we can, all leverage to get the good word out about this program because it all benefits the city of Brawley, our businesses, and our community as well. So, way back in 2016, this is when we actually applied for grant funds to assist the city of Brawley in brownfield assessment dollars. We were successful in securing a $300,000 grant to do brownfield Phase 1 and Phase 2 site assessments, as well as cleanup planning in the city of Brawley. And let me pull up the PowerPoint here. Okay. So, what is a brownfield? A brownfield is a property, could be a vacant lot, it could be a building which has real or perceived environmental concerns. It could be lead-based paint, asbestos, or petroleum-based products that could be of concern. The good news is, on a national average, EPA has found that 33% of properties that have perceived contamination actually are found to have none. So I really honestly believe there's a lot of that going on here in Brawley. I think there's a lot of properties that have been vacant. I think a lot of property owners are sitting on them because they believe there's an issue and they don't want to open up a can of worms. They don't want to go and move forward with selling a property or redeveloping a property for fear of what they've heard may be concerning on the property. So they just sit on it, and that is a real impediment for our community. It inhibits community development, and so that is what we're trying to address here in Brawley. So this is a great program for anybody that's looking to buy a property, sell a property, or redevelop a property in the city of Brawley. I'll show you guys a map in a minute of the project area, but I want to highlight the photos that you see up there. The photo on the left is the former El Centro Motors facility that used to be on Main and 4th in El Centro. And the photo on the right is what it is today, the ECRMC clinic. So you can see, firsthand what the benefit of brownfield redevelopment is, what the possibilities can be. Additionally, the new bus transit terminal here in Brawley was a former brownfield site. I believe they knew that there was one tank, and I think they found 2 or 3 as they were going through construction, so there were some unexpected.
And I think there was like 3 at the end of the.
Yeah.
Was that the
4? Was it 4? Yeah, it was 4 tanks.
Yeah, so there was some surprises there, but luckily, once they got in there, they were able to open up some other avenues of funding and get that, alleviated and, built a very beautiful facility over there. So, whoops, wrong way. Okay. So back in 2016, we applied for a grant that was called Leveraging New or Expanded Transit Investments to Reduce Air Pollution. And so we applied for this grant, and the scope, this scope is taken right out of our grant application. The grant funding will assist in the redevelopment of brownfield site inventories, conducting community involvement activities, environmental site assessment, and cleanup planning for sites that fall within the Brawley downtown specific area, and publicly served by the Brawley Gold Line Transit Route, an intercity transit route. The recently constructed Brawley Transit Center and the planned downtown revitalization to promote safe and healthy pedestrian and bicycle access to transit services, medical, social services, and local businesses. So I think it was about 4 years ago, they actually did a retail study and identified that there's a huge amount of people that are traveling from the city of Brawley to the city of El Centro seeking retail needs. They go to Costco, they go to the mall, they go to pharmacies and whatnot. This is all increasing road traffic, road wear, and increasing emissions. If we can redevelop our own downtown, where we can develop more retail establishments for transit-oriented individuals or transit-dependent individuals, we can diminish vehicle miles. What do they call it? Vehicle miles traveled, right? So we can actually, lower road wear and improve the emissions if we're able to, redevelop our community and have more retail establishments in the area for people in the community to access. Somehow we skipped ahead here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what are some typical brownfield sites? And they're not limited to this list, but this is some of the typical ones that we see. Former service stations, oil and gas sites, salvage yards, dry cleaners, illicit dumping sites, could be illegal dumping sites typically, landfills, industrial sites, rail yards, abandoned or occupied buildings. So we have all the above in the city of Brawley. Really on just about every street corner over the past 75, 80 years, there's been a gas station on just about every street corner in the city of Brawley. And there are some identified underground storage tanks there, but there are some, as we saw at the transit center, that have remained unidentified. So, there's a lot of issues there. I won't read this all for you because you can all read, but basically the grant funds will provide funding for Phase 1 and Phase 2 site assessments. So Phase 1 is basically, for the most part, a behind-the-desk assessment. It's more of a historical review on a property, and they kind of look at what the use has been on the site, and if they deem necessary, if they spell out in the Phase 1 report that we recommend moving to a Phase 2 based on the past activities on that site, then they'll go ahead and recommend a Phase 2. Typically, a Phase 1 could be in the price range of $3,500 to $5,000, typically around $3,500. A Phase 2 is more of an on-site activity. They take into consideration the historical use. They start boring. They do monitoring on site, and typically a Phase 2, could be in the neighborhood of $20,000, but it depends on what the previous use was. It depends on the size of property. It could go on up to $100,000, for a Phase 2. So it's really Phase 2s are a little bit less defined as Phase 1s. But so theoretically, if we took a piece of property that had to go to a Phase 2, we're looking at a grant benefit of about $25,000 per property, and that's what we're looking at implementing here in the city of Brawley. If we do have a property that's going to go to a Phase 2, we don't do any cleanup, but we will do cleanup planning. And what that'll provide for a property owner is a report and an opportunity to take the Phase 1, Phase 2, and cleanup planning report, and that will give them something to move forward with a grant application of their own to get the cleanup done, if need be. So we're going to be doing a lot of community outreach. We've got a community outreach event coming up next week on the 11th, and I'll talk more about that later. This is also, I didn't mention that this is an initiative that is a partnership between IVEDC and Imperial County Transportation Commission. The reason being is that it was originally a transit-oriented grant application. So we felt it very necessary to bring in our partners at ICTC, and they are fulfilling the role of fiscal agent. And so IVEDC is the grant management entity, so we're the more hands-on, in the field folks, but ICTC is a fiscal agent. So this is the project area. This project area aligns exactly with the Brawley downtown specific plan. I won't go through that in much detail because everybody's familiar with that. This is a map. I don't know why these are moving forward. Is it? I thought it was Alma trying to speed me up.
If you use that page up down, it might be easier than the mouse.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you can have a little
Okay.
more control.
I thought maybe I was going too slow. Okay, so this is a map. Let's see. That shows historical dry cleaner locations, auto repair facilities, and gas station sites. These are known and registered locations within that project area.
Mm.
You're probably missing some. There's
Yeah.
probably some that are
I'm
not
sure.
on.
Well, like I said, these are the reported ones. So the next one is registered underground storage tanks. Again, Councilmember Couchman, registered is the key word, so that we may have, far more in the area than what we're looking at here.
I think so.
And the next slide is all of the above, so you see how many, all in that subject area. There's a lot of opportunity here. And I also want to point out that we were required to define a project area. However, if there is a good project with greater need that's outside of this project area, we do have the ability to stretch the boundaries. I've already been asked if I can stretch the boundaries all the way to Imperial on one project, and I had somebody ask me in the city of El Centro, and I said, with respect to the city of Brawley, I don't want to start out the gate, with doing a project outside the city of Brawley. I told them if for some reason at the end of the 3 years life of this grant that we can't spend the money, and I've got a good project in one of those cities, we'll consider it, but I'm not going to do that because I think I don't think it'll sit well with the city of Brawley if we go and do that. So I've turned a couple of folks down already. But what we're going to be doing is the next slide is featuring the first outreach event that we're going to conduct. That's going to be held at the Del Rio Community Center over on the corner of I Street and Northeastern Avenue. And that's our first community outreach event. And what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be inviting the business community, property owners, building owners, and anybody in the community that, are stakeholders or, really care about, what the future of the city of Brawley looks like, and just to gather their input and see what what the consensus is in our community, and kind of what direction we hope hope that what the direction of this grant can be. So we're hoping that we invite all of you on the city council as well as anybody in the audience to attend that event. There's no cost, of course, to attend that event, but it's really to get the community input. I'm sorry. And so that's about all I have for today. I'd entertain any questions that you might have.
Mr. Wilcox, thank you for your presentation. Very much appreciated. I do have a question. Early in the presentation, you did mention some business owners, they do have a reluctance of, putting maybe their building up for sale or just kind of moving things along just because they're afraid that maybe there is something contaminated and that can create a problem for them. Do you think there'll be a reluctance from the public, to attend the outreach event, or how has the Have they embraced the concept so far?
Yeah, I don't think, I don't expect any reluctance on the outreach event because it's just informational.
Yeah.
It's not really requiring anybody to sign up, but your point is well taken. I do see there could be still reluctance on property owners to actually, engage the process. We will have to go through a verification process with each property owner to make sure they qualify for the funds. If it's somebody that actually did the polluting themselves and they own the property today, the grant funds can't really be used to assist that person. They need to be responsible for the contamination that they incurred. So there is a verification process, but there's just a lot of perception out there. The A+ Furniture site, the Brawley Community Foundation, we could have taken that site years ago for almost nothing. But there was a liability concern because there's this perception out there that there's underground tanks that leaked and fuel flowed, east down Main Street and has affected some of the property owners, on the east side of downtown Main Street. I don't know if that perception is real until we go in there and start boring. But we could have picked up that property for almost nothing years ago. And if we had known about this program, we would have engaged this program, accessed these funds and got an assessment done.
Mm-hmm.
And my guess is the assessment would have come up clean.
Mayor Nava, if I
yeah.
may note, Sean did a wonderful introduction to the EPA and actually this particular property, in addition to Eastern Avenue at Main Street, the former Big Barn, both have had environmental site assessments performed. And we actually have a project meeting tomorrow regarding follow-up items based on the findings.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great
hopefully
news.
it will help to shape future interest in the property.
That's great.
Yeah, that's great. So those kind of occurrences, they take a little bit more time because they're outside the scope of this grant initiative. But properties that are taken into consideration under this initiative can actually get their site assessments done much more quickly. Oftentimes, when you do a targeted brownfield assessment, it could take 6 to 9 months. It's a long process to get the phase 1 done. But if you do it through the grant, it's a month or two. So yeah.
Thank you again.
So
Questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
I'm just wondering, so have you had any contact or engagement with any prospective owners at this time, or is this going to be the first effort to reach out to the owners in these particular sites?
Some property owners have heard of the initiative, word of mouth, and they've actually approached us. The timing wasn't exactly right because there's a lot of process that we had to go through. So we kind of held them, off but a little bit, and we're going to re-engage them soon. But that's what we need help from all of you.
Okay.
We're going to be engaging, city staff, yourselves, bankers, real estate agents, because we need to know what sites are in play, meaning, hey, somebody's approaching this property owner, they're thinking about building X. We need to know about those things because we can come in and offer these grant funds to that property owner. One thing I do want to mention is we don't want to spend this money on a property and then have it sit idle. We're not handing out money so people can do their phase 1 assessments and then just do nothing. We want to spend this money for phase 1 assessments, phase 2 assessments, cleanup planning, and have that activity move forward with an actual redevelopment.
So a commitment from the
Yeah.
owner or someone
Yeah.
to build.
We want to see success. We don't want to see, people getting free assessments and then do nothing. So that's kind of the vetting process that we're going to go through. So, we could really use all of your help in understanding what things are going to go in play. That CVS deal out there on Brawley Avenue, that would have been a great one if we were at the point where we could have offered funds to that property owner. It would have been a great win for us and the city of Brawley if we were able to activate some funds in this grant for that project. But the timing wasn't right for us.
I'm sorry,
When
which
that-
property is that?
Is the CVS, the old trailer park?
Oh, the mobile home park?
Yeah. Is that not a CVS anymore?
No.
It
I
was
think
never
so.
publicly announced as a CVS.
Oh,
It was
okay.
it's a redevelopment site with multiple opportunities. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard of that either. so-
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, my mistake.
Thank you.
So, anyway, we
Thank
could
you,
all
Tom.
use your help, and I really appreciate the
I
time.
think there's another question here.
Yeah, but I think you're going to address it at the Del Rio. I just want to make sure, if, as we're out advocating, what's this is probably one of the million-dollar questions, but what's kind of the role as this is rolled out and as you've had these conversations with DTSC and Coupa, kind of the perception that you're going to have potentially an enforcement arm, out
That's,
there that might be
that's a-
looking at this. And I think that's part of what you were addressing, right?
That's a
what is-
question I'm really glad you answered, because I forgot to cover it. So our grant funds come from, Environmental Protection Agency, but there's really two divided departments within the agency. There's the enforcement, and then there's the grant side. They're very distinctly separated. The activities that go on in the grant activities will not be commingled with enforcement, meaning property owners are not going to be, heavily scrutinized if they enter into this process with us. They're not going to be attacked by the enforcement
So
side.
there's a level, I don't know if it's written or not, but there's a level of immunity is what you're saying if they engage in this
Yeah.
process. So
Yeah.
they're kind of self-reporting. And then the other thing is, did I hear you right? There's a limit, obviously. If you do move to phase 2, you said it was about a $25,000.
Well, we don't limit the phase twos. It depends on, how large the price tag is on some of the initial phase twos.
So there
Of
is a
course-
possibility it could be more?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the grant.
We cannot limit the scope of the phase 2, the scope of the phase 1 and the phase 2.
Yeah.
They are what they are. That is up to our environmental engineer. We hired SES engineers, so they will be handling all the engineering. And so they're licensed engineers to do a certain job, and we can't dictate, how much of that job they do, or, we can't give them a budget. They've got to do what they've got to do.
Okay.
Towards the end of the grant, when we start, allocating and dispersing, most of the funds, then we
Yeah.
may be looking at, let's see what we can do with what we have.
Right.
But initially, the first projects, we really can't dictate where they stop.
Is there a total amount, kind of a use it or lose it? You mentioned 3 years, for the life of the program. Is there an amount you can disclose, or?
Well, it's a $300,000 grant.
Okay.
And I'll say that 95% of the funds all go to site assessments, and that was dictated by EPA. So our organization, as well as ICTC, we're literally at a loss as far as staff time administering this. We are actually doing it out of the goodness of our heart. We actually are losing money in year 2 and 3. We'll have no money left to draw down from the
For
grant to actually
administrative
just
costs
do,
and things, yeah.
just do administrative. So, it's something that we're hoping to do good in the community. And when we're done in Brawley, we're going to do it in another city, and we're going to just keep moving from city to city. And we're gonna prioritize the need, and we really saw Brawley as having the highest need.
Thank you.
After some of the arson fires that had happened.
And if it works, and I'm confident it will, that's the benefit, that, properties that have maybe sat vacant for quite some time are now in use and those sorts of things. So that's the positive side of it. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one additional item of note, in the kickoff meeting that ICTC, IVEDC, the city, and EPA had, it was really encouraging to hear that EPA's been looking for ways to have a positive impact in our local community. And they were emphasizing that this arm of their operations, really they're about bringing resources to the community, and that if issues were encountered that could not be wholly addressed within the scope of work of this particular award of funds, that there may be opportunities in the future to augment the funding available. I think one of the challenges is always, though, if the goal is to get private development moving and spurred, it's having those timetables match what a private actor wants to see happen at a property. So
Yeah.
it's really exciting to see the prospects, and hopefully we can work together to make something happen on our
Yep.
along our corridor here. at
Yeah,
Brawley.
they want to see early wins, they want to see successes, and so that's what we're looking to deliver. So,
Well, thank you again for
Thank
the
you.
presentation, the information. I hope to be at your event on the 11th.
yeah, so I'll leave some flyers here. They're in English and Spanish on the back. But there's registration information here, and I'll leave these with you guys that you can have them on hand to distribute. But again, October 11th, 5:30 p.m. at the Del Rio Community Center.
Thank you again.
I just have
Thank you.
one follow-up question.
Sure.
and
Yes, ma'am.
maybe, or comment. Is it possible for us or someone to assist with targeting the owners of those properties to make sure that they know about this event?
I don't think there's anything wrong with initiating contact with any property owner within the eligible area. So it's just, at this point, we're trying to focus on inside of the downtown specific plan area.
So would that list be provided to Sean, or can we assist them in one way?
Yeah, and if you want me to attend a face-to-face meeting with you so that you're more well-equipped with the information that you need to convey to the property owner, I'm very happy to attend and join you.
I
at
just
any
want to
of
make
those.
sure they're aware of the event
Yeah.
so they can be there.
Yeah, and any resources that you may have from the city level that we can get the information out would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very
Thank
much.
you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is regular business. 4B, discussion potential action to authorize the upgrade of the City of Brawley Communications Center utilizing federal asset forfeiture funds in the amount of $33,942.52 with 100% reimbursement by the California 911 Emergency Communications Branch. Backup materials on pages 37 through 77. I have reviewed the information. It's being presented by Chief Sawyer. It's 100% reimbursed. I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second to this?
Second.
There's a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for all the work.
Thank you.
Did you want to say something?
Thank you, Chief.
Looks like it took a lot of work to
Right,
put together.
right.
A lot of pages.
Next item is regular business 4C, discussion potential action to approve the Microsoft Enterprise Volume Software Licensing Agreement for email, business software, and operating systems scheduled to expire October 31st, 2018, the amount of $31,981.91 for 3 years, per year for 3 years. Backup materials on pages 78 through 94. Mr. Armando Garibay, would you like to present?
Always is. Armando Garibay from City's Information System Manager. What this is a renewal of the existing contract we have with Microsoft Enterprise Agreement. We had one for 3 years. This is a renewal for another 3 years in the amount of $31,981.91 per year. This is, we do have an alternate option to bring it all in-house. However, that cost is pretty significant, over $100,000, and then we'd have to augment our IT staff. So it's my recommendation to stay with the existing infrastructure we have, which is cloud-based and redundancy.
Very well. Well, I've seen the backup material. I know it's something that we've had and we operate, so I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions?
I just had a question, Mr. Mayor, as far
Sure.
as, is that, the 31,981, is that, how much of an increase is that from prior years?
We actually lowered it.
Oh, really?
Microsoft has increased their prices, so the next price I got was at $105,000 for 3 years. However, after looking at our previous licensing, I found that we had a agreement about 6 years ago, and those licenses were just sitting there stale, unused. And if you look at the pricing, their kind of numbers are all over the place. That's because those pricing came in and lowered the pricing for us. So we're saving about $3,000, not much, but it's about $3,000 or $4,000 per year on this agreement.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Garibay. Next item on the agenda is regular business. 4D, discussion potential action to adopt a city council resolution to approve the city of Brawley social media policy. Backup materials on pages 95 through 111. Shirley Bonillas, our risk manager, will be presenting.
Honorable Mayor, Council Member Shirley Bonillas, Personnel and Risk Management. In your agenda, you have 3 policies. They're all addressing the social media. The privacy policy would be only on our website. It is needed and immediately. It should have been there already.
Right.
So that's the first one. Overall social media policy is how the city will view it. Again, this is a secondary communication item. We've already voted as a council to have a limited public forum, so it wouldn't be an open forum with discussion. It'd be a straightforward communication. And again, it's a secondary mode. Your primary mode would be the website. And then the last item, the social media comment and content moderation policy. This enables us or gives the criteria of when we can remove items. So if somebody's being slanderous or threatening these items, and it's a laundry list, I understand it's very long. But it would be on a typical Facebook page, you have a left-hand column with different items that postings, info. We would put a tab notes or our policy and put it over on the left-hand side where you can click and you can see criteria. So it is the recommendation of your risk manager to approve all 3 policies. And it's also the recommendation of your risk manager to please focus on one social media product, being Facebook. We do have limited staffing. It should be monitored, and the policy does say it will be monitored 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday.
And we don't, excuse me for interrupting, but we don't necessarily need to, we could just use it as an information mechanism, right? Where we're putting information out of whatever it is and not necessarily have it open for commentary. I mean, it could just be information that's going out to the public.
That's true, Mayor. That's exactly right. That's what your risk manager is recommending to the council. But we still have to monitor.
Sure. Okay.
Because if somebody wants to post something that is horrible and that we have a criteria of what we could remove, then we want to be able to remove it, but it's got to be monitored.
Understood.
Currently, we don't have staff. We have an unknown, we don't know if we have the money to hire staff. It is the city manager's recommendation she'll monitor and she'll have a designee. Andrea is going to be a helper. She's our planning technician in our planning department.
Very well. Is there any questions by the city council on this topic?
I'm just, so it is going to be a Facebook type, on Facebook? Is that my understanding, or is it going to be like an email or?
Well, we haven't determined it yet,
Okay.
but we had discussed Facebook in the past. This
Okay.
is just the policy, social media policy that we needed to approve before we move forward with anything. But that
Okay.
would likely be the one that's
Okay.
used most.
This is, as you said, this is just the policy. We're not actually starting a Facebook page
Right.
tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
And does this prohibit using outside sources to create the Facebook page and?
No,
okay.
no. This policy just gives the guidelines for what the city of Brawley Satan is our guidelines.
Right.
If the council's at a next meeting wants to review outside sources to post, enable, the policy says it's the city manager, so she's got the
Discretion, right?
discretion and the authority.
Sure.
And of course, any contract that we engage in will come to council for approval.
Mr. Mayor, just an added comment, just with that. First off, obviously, reading through the policy, obviously very thorough, and my understanding is that we had some assistance, maybe not reinventing
JPIA?
the wheel, looking at the JPIA, what's already in place with other
Yes, sir.
municipality
Yes.
agencies.
These templates,
Okay.
these were from the California Joint Powers Insurance Authority.
Yeah, because it's pretty thorough, and it looks like it covers everything. And the other thing I would just urge, maybe just as council and the public, that to separate, this isn't necessarily guiding process or decisions we're going to make in terms of how how-to, even though it's pretty descriptive in here in terms of monitoring and city manager. I think it designates that, but from there, the city manager, by way of process, however we decide to go, can figure out how we'll ultimately communicate and push content and information out. So no, I thought it was very thorough. Thank you for this work. I think it allows us to move forward and talk about how.
Important first step, long time coming, but I'll make a motion to approve the item.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Glad to see we're moving forward with that. Fantastic. Next, Shirley, if you want to come back up. Departmental reports. 5A, monthly staff report. Backup materials on page 112. Is there anything you'd like to highlight for the council?
No, sir.
Yeah.
At this time, our major focus is still on police officer recruitment, but we are continuing with the dispatchers as well, just trying to get an eligibility list so we don't get caught with a couple of positions down again on a 24-hour operation.
Chief Sawyer just got an upgraded communication center, so you can use that as a...
And just one other thing, sir,
Recruitment tool.
we have hired 6 cattle call assistants prep help, 3 in public works, 3 in parks, just getting the city nice and pretty for cattle call.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Next is departmental report, 5B, presentation of non-motorized transportation plan. Presentation, Andrea Montano, our planning technician. Backup material is on pages 113 to 119. She brought up her Starbucks drink and everything. Look at that.
See that?
Ready?
Yes.
She's ready. She's prepared.
She did.
You can see it.
There we go. All right, good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, council members, Andrea Montano, planning technician. This is going to be a brief overview of what the non-motorized transportation plan is. It doesn't really have list all the projects. There's over 100 of them. So for the purpose of this presentation, it's just a brief overview of what non-motorized transportation plan is and a brief overview of what ours is. So a non-motorized transportation plan, it serves as a guide to develop multimodal networks. So that's bikeways and pedestrian routes, so sidewalks. Bicycles and walking, they are beneficial to residents and visitors, alleviates congestion, you lower greenhouse gas emissions, and through doing exercise, you improve the quality of your life. So, to recap a little bit, so the benefits to the environment, so cold starts is one thing that causes a lot of pollution. So a 1 mile vehicle trip is about 70% of the pollution of a 10-mile trip. And that's just from the cold starts because it you use a lot of gas when you first turn on your car. And really that's just not in the morning. After maybe about 4 or 5 hours, your car rests again. So you have a cold start again, even though it's not the first time you turn it on. So when you're reducing pollutants, you're also reducing some of the causes of respiratory issues like asthma, which I know a lot of people in the valley have asthma issues. And then you also would decrease the emissions to meet targets in laws such as AB 32, SB 375, and you would meet the sustainable community strategy. So as far as benefits to the city, so having multimodal transportation networks, you make neighborhoods more livable, more attractive, you increase home values, and you retain talented workforce. As far as bike lanes, you draw consumers directly to businesses, which indirectly supports the economy. So, you know, you're biking down Main Street and you see Sylvia's Little Treasures and you say, okay, I'm gonna stop in there. Then you look at all the stuff she has. Stuff like that kind of directs you to certain areas where those routes and where those lanes are. As far as to individuals, again, you exercise. Obesity could go down through exercise. It's just a little bit more information as far as benefits to individuals. So an interesting thing that I saw, and all this is in the plan, is that in 1968, about 50% of kids, they biked or they walked to school. As of 2009, that went down to 14%.
In 2018, it's probably like 1%.
Probably. Yeah, so, and in that time, 1/3 of children ages 9 to 17, they're either already obese or they are at risk for becoming obese. So that's interesting how as we've turned more transportation dependent as far as cars go, you don't exercise as much. So you kind of, everything starts to shift a little bit.
I think they have 10 kids at school that ride.
So an overview of the contents of our plans. So there are 4 goals. So we discussed 4 goals. There's a whole bunch of policies as far as those goals, how we want to attain them. It discusses the existing conditions. So as of this plan in 2013, we had about 2.6 miles of Class 2 bike lanes. So those are the typical bike lanes you see that are striped in the street that you kind of share them with the cars. And there was a lot of non-existent or discontinuous lanes that just ended. Sidewalks, some of them, you know, there's certain areas in Brawley where there's no sidewalks. So that is just one overview of the existing conditions at that time. We have hit some of these projects, not all of them in its entirety. So we've grown more as far as bike lanes go, sidewalks go. It also discussed the needs analysis of, okay, we should be targeting these areas and these areas, and this is what we need here. There was also recommended improvements. So there's about 132 recommended improvements. Of those, 27 were bikeway improvements, 37 were sidewalk infill, and 73 were crossing improvements. As far as implementation goes, all those improvements, they were broken down into more manageable sections because you're not going to be able to do a whole street all at once. So there were about, I made this really small. There was about, looked way different on my computer. There are 59 bikeway projects. All of them were ranked, and what that means is that there's some projects that you will see more in the sidewalks and the crossing improvements, that they were more longer term projects, that they were not ranked, but they were still considered in the feet of development and the cost, the project cost. So like I said, there were, for as far as sidewalks, there were 13 ranked projects. In total of the 37, there would be 12,175 feet of development. It would cost about $2 million to develop. Bikeways, there was 46 miles of development, about $6 million in project cost. And crossing projects, there were 29 projects ranked, and about $4 million project cost.
So each of these project areas are areas that we could pursue in active transportation planning and implementation efforts. And this particular presentation grew out of a request from Mayor Pro Tem Morton with reference to kind of, what is the framework for looking at various types of access throughout the city, whether it's car, bike, pedestrian oriented. And we thought it would be helpful to kind of do a refresh of what all the different modes of transportation are that we consider in our non-motorized transportation plan, and help explain, a lot of people ask, well, why is the city focusing on bike lanes when there are so many other opportunities to pursue? And many of the funding opportunities these days have been oriented towards greenhouse gas emissions and active transportation projects. And that's how the city pursues projects, is looking at our non-motorized transportation plan. We say, okay, what are the various projects that are a fit for the city's plan, and what bite-sized pieces meet the funding guidelines?
Well, in a couple things, if I could add, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the presentation. Just this overview. This is a good, quick, kind of a quick reference, I think, for all of us on what is meant by the non-motorized plan, the transportation plan. The fact that we even have one, I think people forget. But what I figured out of this is we can start looking for the easy wins, kind of high impact. And if we're already doing certain road projects, for example, where we can fit in restriping of bike lanes, where we can fit in, crosswalks maybe that have been asked, and I know there's criteria again for all these things, but where we can identify those rather than for, kind of oversee, through oversight or forget about them or whatever, I'd like those to potentially be considered. So this is very incremental. It's not looking at, okay, we're going to do all this, but I certainly think if we could be more mindful. And then the idea is moving forward is kind of connecting the dots here a little bit. I think there's some work that I'd like to embark in with ICTC, looking at the county as a whole, of really start connecting the areas that are fragmented, because a lot of this is fragmented. For our pedestrians and we've heard it. We've had members come in here in the chamber and have maybe sidewalks that go maybe not to a specific destination. So just looking at those things and wherever we can fit them in and make those incremental improvements. And I think the mayor and myself, I remember a couple years ago, attended a presentation of an individual that really looked to the nonprofit and community to do embark on these really low dollar projects that made some incredible improvements to bike lanes and to crosswalks. By really just focusing on 1 day, 2 day community projects. And it was pretty amazing at the work they were able to do, not just the aesthetic improvements, but also the use improvements. And it just brings awareness, gets more people out, which I think we're, as we focused on Main Street, closing it down, bringing the community out, this gives us another means of looking at our community a little bit differently. So thank you.
Thank you for the information. Is there any questions from council?
I just want to say I like what Mayor Pro Tem Morton was just saying about community projects, very short term, quick wins. Looking at the numbers on this, I just get the feeling that Mayor Pro Tem Morton is just trying to get us closer to having enough bikeways so that he can continue to train for more triathlons. So
Right.
what's looking like
That's
to me.
what I was going to say, but
That's
I
good.
thought I'd not. I didn't want to do that.
He's only $6 million short.
Something exactly. That's right.
I was gonna say,
So-
where's the money coming from?
Right.
Should I ask that question or not?
Well, no, it's grant funding. I mean, it would be whatever it is, right?
The funding
At any
is
rate,
that-
well,
Yeah.
thank you very much for the information, Ms. Montano. Appreciate it very much. Next item on the agenda is informational reports. 6A, record of building permits. They're there for your pleasure. If you have any questions, please bring them up, but thank you for the report. Next item is City Treasurer's report, and that the backup material is the investment activity. It's on page 122 to 125. If you have any questions for the period between March and June of 2018, please bring them forward. If not, we'll move on to City Council member reports, and we'll start with Council Member Sam Couchman.
You're going to start with me? Okay. All right. Yesterday, I did an interview.
Okay.
Mr. Godinez, thank you very much. We appreciate it. No, we're good. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, yesterday I gave an interview to the local TV station regarding the storm that was supposed to come and that
didn't.
really didn't come. I mean, it was like yesterday. They missed it by one day because it really came the day before that. But they did call me. They said they had tried to reach the mayor. They could not. And so I kindly consented to go on TV. And if you were watching it last night, you saw me along with the El Centro mayor, I think, give some presentations about the storm and how to be prepared. And we had sent something around. I had shared something on Facebook from Imperial County as to how to prepare, keep some food and water handy, keep medications handy, make sure your pets are taken care of, and then watch for falling trees and items like that, because that seems to be the main thing that we get with the wind and the rain is water, and then trees falling or damage to buildings or something of that nature, damage to roofs, et cetera. I think at this last storm, I don't think we got any real reports of anything outwardly. There were a few trees that were damaged, I think, but most things didn't affect us like it did Yuma, which was hit much harder than we were. So I did that presentation. I attended the CoLab dinner, their annual dinner, the other day, and it was well attended at the Stockmans, and so I was able to attend that. We had an APCD meeting here in Brawley, hosted here at our meeting site. There were several farmers here in attendance, and the county APCD, Air Pollution Control District, went over some factors related to PM10, roadways, things that they have to do around their farming operation to keep down the dust and mitigate that situation. And that meeting went well, lasted about an hour. And then I attended the Stockman's Club annual meeting also. And with that, that's, I think, all I've done. I just wanted to commend the city employees and staff on the Brawley Union High School incident and the way they handled that. And we got some very positive comments about that. And I think it's important that we react immediately to that. That is a priority with our children. I think everybody was concerned. And other things that I see going on, it seems like the police department is out there on a daily basis doing their job, and it's looking real good, and I watch them daily as they go about their activities, and they're doing a real fine job, and I just wanted to commend them on that and all the city staff on everything they do every day. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your report.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. I feel safer now that I've heard it.
I'm not going to start riding a bike anytime soon. Just so you know.
All right, next we'll go on to Councilmember Hamby.
Thank you, Mayor. I didn't do a lot over the last couple of weeks except work in the heat, but I did attend at Stockman's Club, the NOCA production of Barefoot in the Park, and actually had a cameo appearance in that as a middle-aged, slightly overweight, balding white guy who just climbed 6 flights of stairs and is out of breath, and I think I nailed the part pretty well, actually.
You did a great job.
It was an audition, and you were like,
I was born for this role.
He played the role very well.
oh, man.
And I was thinking, I probably need to start riding bikes a lot more.
Yeah, right.
Miscast.
I fielded some calls and messages from concerned community members and concerned visitors to our community, as a lot of you probably did. I got a message regarding some park equipment that I forwarded to the city manager, and she had that checked out. I got a call from a pretty upset visitor to our community about firearms being discharged, possibly within city limits, and he spoke to me for quite a while about that. But at the end of the conversation, he did say that he visits from LA area somewhat regularly, and he said that the city of Brawley is actually looking a lot better in the last few years than it has in the past. And so I figured I'd better pass that on as a silver lining to that conversation. And also I would just like to echo what Sylvia Castañeda said about getting some of those dumpsters moved. I think it really does improve the look of Plaza Park. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And congratulations on your part.
Thank you.
Hey, don't be typecast. You want
Don't be typecast.
You want to change that. Next, we'll move on to Mayor Pro Tem Wharton.
All right, just looking up, just from the last meeting to here, a couple of announcements and some of the communication I've had, but usually this time of year I always bring up the incoming fairly large event that's going to take place out in Glamis, and Brawley being really the primary gateway community. I also like to kind of bring that up because Polaris, I think most of us know them as a brand, but they're a global company. They're a huge company, and they've really invested quite a bit out there. And there's some communication going on. I've had some very preliminary communication with the mayor. I'd like to share with the rest of council that we're going to have a keen interest in maybe potentially as a city look at partnering with Polaris and bring some of those gateway community potential advantages, which we've always enjoyed the economic impact of the visitors that go out there. But they're looking at doing 2 free concerts again this year. I don't think the acts have been announced, but I think it's soon to be. So be prepared for that. You're going to hear about that. And the last time they had a free concert, they had close to 17,000 people attend out there at Glamis. This year, they're figuring they're going to have a crowd even bigger than that. So it's not just 1, but 2 concerts. And it happens to be the same night that we're going to have the Bell game. So it's going to be a pretty busy weekend. That's going to be on October 25th, 26th, right in there. It's going to be a very busy weekend. But I thought I'd bring that up. Outside of that, also, I had some preliminary discussion, and I'm just tossing this out. It's not an agenda item or anything in the future, but I'm having very preliminary discussions with our city manager and our staff about the potential of bringing an inaugural athletic event next year to the city of Brawley, which would be the first of its kind in Imperial Valley, as far as I can tell. So I don't want to be quoted on that 100%, but by all accounts, it would be the first of its kind in Imperial County. So I think we'd be a great host city for something like that. More details to follow.
Is it a pinball tournament?
That's something, pachinko balls or whatever, yeah, the machine. Collab I didn't attend, but I did enter with a couple of spots, and I heard I won at least my money back or something
yeah,
like
you
that.
did.
So I didn't think, you didn't collect it, did you?
No, but
Okay.
if I would have, you would have probably seen it in a couple of years.
So I was happy to hear that. Yeah. Good cause.
I owe
And,
you.
And then I may have mentioned this, but I want to again thank, got some wonderful coverage from the Desert Review. I guess their front page, I have the paper version as proof, but once again, thanking ECRMC received quite an honor from the White House Medical Unit. For one day's work that really the whole team did. But again, I just wanted to put that out. A big thank you to Desert Review for that coverage. Is very positive. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Fantastic. All right. And next, we'll go on to Councilmember Norma Kestner. Howdy.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, well, it was actually a pretty busy week or 2 weeks for me. I had the opportunity to meet with Assemblymember Garcia on I think it was a Wednesday night that he was in town, and had the opportunity to talk to him about the different things that are going on in the valley and in Brawley specifically, and the opportunity to thank him, for everything he does for us. So it was really nice to be able to talk to him one-on-one. And then, like Katie reported, I did accept her invitation to attend that 100th anniversary in Mexicali for their Chamber of Commerce celebration, and it was a very elaborate event, a really, really nice event. I just went as an invitee, but I guess I actually ended up representing all of the cities in Imperial County, so that was actually pretty nice. And so, like Katie said, they called us up to the stage and introduced us. And I said, as long as I'm not expected to speak, because I don't have a prepared speech. But anyway, so I just thanked them for the invitation. But it was it was a great event. And if anybody has the opportunity next year, I encourage, as many of us as can go to attend. I did attend the Barefoot in the Park NOCA event, and it was outstanding. I was really, really impressed with everybody that participated, the students that acted, and all the actors and everyone that worked behind the scenes. And Luke, you did a great job too. You did. I expected more from you, though.
Did you?
Yeah, I thought he was going to come back, and he never did.
It was one line.
And then so.
What was the line? I'm sorry. What was the line?
It was Lord and Taylor.
Oh, that's good, man.
And then a lot of heavy breathing.
That's good.
So I
being
said-
out of breath.
I said that was
contracted
it?
for,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think I started to clap, and I said, okay, it's not opportunity to clap. So, and then I thought maybe he'll come back. Anyway, my co-counsel, I think he did a great job, really, he did.
You're embarrassing.
And he did better than I would have done, I think, but anyway. So, good job for everybody. I encourage everyone to attend the
Awesome.
next play. And then I attended the chamber meeting, and Katie did give us an update already. I mean, the main thing we're working on right now, city employees and everybody else, and the chamber is the catacall activities, so we're all ready for that. And then I also attended the Red Cross ribbon cutting event in El Centro. They have a new location on Main Street, and along with our chief, our two chiefs were there, right? No, one chief, okay. Our PD, our police chief was there, and also our commander was there. And also a very nice event, Senator Ben Wessel was there to congratulate them on that. And, you know, the American Red Cross, as all of you know, is a great organization, and we all support it. They do a lot of great work for everybody, especially right now with all the things that are happening with the hurricanes and stuff. So, we thought we might be able to use them, but I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get any more rain here anyway, but. And then, like Luke, I did get a few complaints from some citizens, and I also got the complaint from that out-of-towner, and the chief and our commander have been working with him, and hopefully that'll get resolved, and we'll be able to get back to him with something that will appease him, hopefully. That's about it.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your report. I've been able to certainly participate with ICTC at their meeting, but a couple of weeks ago, Mayor Pro Tem and I, Mayor Pro Tem Donnie Wharton and I, we were able to meet with Colonel Gallman here at the council chambers, and you know, there was some military activity taking place here in the city of Brawley, and we had some concerned citizens call in with respect to the noise and those sorts of things. But, you know, the colonel did share with us that training that takes place, and it's been taking place here in Brawley for about 10 years now. It's a very important part of their training. In fact, it's one of the more important parts of their training nationwide. So it's good that the city of Brawley is able to participate in that capacity, and it was nice to meet the colonel. So, and he happened to know a lot of the people that you work with, and I've worked with in the past. Yeah, so a lot of the pilots and others. So that was fantastic. But you know, I've been engaged recently with some of the business owners in Brawley, and I think there's some good things coming in the very near future. I'm excited about the Pilot Travel Center, especially with like Camp Razor and other things. We can imagine what that's going to do to sales tax revenue, and so I think it's going to be very positive. I'll update everybody at our next count, probably in about 2 council meetings, on some things that I'm working on myself and that I want to share with all of you. But good things are coming. I'm excited. The weather seems like it's changing a little bit, and it's getting a little bit cooler, and hopefully that gets everybody out and back a little bit more energized. Kind of hard to do sometimes when it's so hot outside. So I'm hoping everybody you know, is out there enjoying not just Catacall but other things within the city of Brawley. So thanks, staff, for all the work that you're all doing. I know sometimes we're very limited with our ability to address all the concerns from all council members because, you know, it's difficult to try and address all those things at once, but certainly appreciate everything that staff's doing. So thank you all very much. I'll keep my report at that, and I'll move on to our city manager's report.
I would like to make a quick plug for October 13th. On Saturday,
There's
October
already like 5
13th.
There's 5 events.
There are 2 very important city-related events that I just want to reiterate both for council and the community. On Saturday, our Brawley Fire Department will be hosting its open house at Station Number 2. And this will be a takeoff on Halloween festivities. Our community is invited to come out to trick or treat with Sparky in costume. So please join us at our fire station from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 1505 Jones Street. And also want to note that we will be working with Republic Services for one of 2 community cleanup days That will be same day, same general
October
vicinity.
13th.
And we
It always is.
co-convened both of these last year with a great deal of
always
success. And that event will run from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Brawley Airport. And we are extremely grateful to Republic Services for making this event a success year after year. And we invite our community to clean out the yard, clean out the house, identify all those eligible items that can be taken care of at no cost with just a utility bill and evidence of your residence. So
If I could add a comment to that, you drive around Brawley, we talk about business, it's not just business, it's residents. You drive around town and there's just so many homes that are just not kept up. You have so much trash everywhere, you have vehicles that are out in front, and it's a great opportunity for people just to clean up. And I know we've done paint outs in the past, we've done a bunch of cleanups, but I really would like to push this message and getting people to mow their lawns, clean up, throw things out, because honestly, you drive around town, the focus often is about business and we need greater opportunities, but really we need to improve our community from the ground up. And that is taking care of your home, mowing the lawn, doing just the basics, and there's an opportunity to throw out the trash, and it's not going to cost you anything. So,
Help a neighbor.
Yeah, help a
save
neighbor.
a trip to the dump.
Right, it
too.
saves a trip to the dump, and it's very efficient. The changes that Republic was able to make a couple years back helped streamline the process. So you can dump trash out there, you can take a trailer load, you can take a truckload, you can do whatever it is that you need to do. So please encourage people to throw out the trash and clean up. So anyway,
I'd
I
like
just wanted to
add one little thing, only because he's talked about the trash and all that. I'd like to thank our code enforcement officer, because just based on the list of things that he's provided us, there's so many places that he's targeted. Not targeted, I shouldn't say that. He's observed that they have trash that needs to be thrown out, or old cars and things like that. And he's really made an impact, I think, on cleaning up our city. So I think he's doing a great job.
thank you. Anything else you'd like to add? All right. Our city attorney.
So I had a long discussion with the pigeon gentleman too.
Okay.
And he was very complimentary of the chief, but we had a long debate about whether or not it's legal to hunt pigeons. So I did my
It's
research
legal to hunt
again
pigeons.
and confirmed that it is absolutely legal.
It is
to hunt
legal to
pigeons.
hunt pigeons.
That's very important to me. So anyway, just so you know, it's legal to hunt pigeons. Not
There you
in city
go.
limits,
Not
with
city
fire.
limit.
Not city limits. All right.
With fire.
Thank you. Our city clerk.
We have the Harvest
Nonsense
Bowl
with the fire.
also on October 13th. There's like 5 different
Yes,
events
yes, there
on
is.
that day.
Queen coronation, the
The Queen
food bank
coronation.
annual dinner, the Eric Reyes thing at Salico, the for Miguel Miranda's I think stage area thing for Hinojosa, and there's a bunch of other things too, and then this and some other things.
Yeah.
It's on your calendar,
we
so let me
have
know if you guys
6
are
or
going
8
to any
things.
event. I did reserve a table for the PMH Gala,
We would have
Yeah.
to
For the
base
what?
Cologne. That's
Thursday, yeah.
Thursday the
night.
18th.
Thursday
So
the
just let me know who's going, so I have,
Me already.
Sam, do you know that you RSVP'd for 2 things on the same day?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to both.
Are you?
I'm gonna go to 4 things that day, that evening. Yes, Wanda's mad at me, but that's all right.
All right.
that's all.
I would just like to add to that on the 12th, we have a few events as well, but probably one of the most important is
My
Mayor
birthday.
Nava's birthday.
That's right. That is the most
Friday
important.
the
It's gonna be
12th.
60?
60 years old.
Hey.
All right. So
Got him. Party at the Navas.
thank you all very much.
You opened him up to that.
And
Where-
I'm going to celebrate my birthday on the
Where-
12th, so I probably won't be doing too many visits to events on the 13th, if you know what I mean.
Okay, George is not
so-
gonna be 60, I'm just teasing.
Hydrate on the
So
13th.
we'll,
All right.
we'll represent, I
There you
guess.
go. All right, everyone. Well, thank you all very much for coming out. Enjoy yourselves, and see you all soon. Mr.